Either two brain-dead, mouth-breathing, Velcro shoe-wearing nincompoops voted for Neon Prime Deion as the 10th best coach in the country, or one idiot voted him as the 9th best. How? I'm going to need some coffee for this. I'm going to need some coffee for this one. Okay, this one's going to be good. Good morning, it's Uncle Lou here. Yeah, that's right, it's me, Uncle Lou, live on LouTube for you. Thanks for watching, I really appreciate it also. And two, please subscribe to the channel if you're not already. It's a huge help, it's free, it's the best thing you can do to help support the channel. Hit the thumbs up on this video. We got spring games today. A couple of them coming on TV, either streaming or ACC network, and then a bunch next week as well. So anyway, sort of in the thick of it here with the college football spring games, but that's not what we're going to talk about today. A list has been put out, top 10 coaches. Now, look, top 10 anything is always great to do because no one ever agrees. So it's just a great topic of conversation and points of debate and things like that. But they surveyed 10 college football writers. Who's your top 10 coaches, and then they made a poll out of those. I'm going to need some coffee for this. I'm going to need some coffee for this one. So they polled 10 college football writers. Give us your top 10 college football coaches. They then, average that down or whatever. The same way they do top 25 rankings and things like that. Some of this is going to be surprising to you. Some of it is not. Well, look, I'm not even going to waste any time. I'm going to show you right now their top 10. So number 1, Kirby Smart. Number 2, Kalen DeBoer. Number 3, Kyle Whittingham. Number 4, Dabo Swinney. Number 5, Mike Norvell. Number 6, Dan Lanning. Number 7, Steve Sarkisian. Number 8, Lane Kiffin. Number 9, Lance Leopold. Number 10, Ryan Day. Now, a couple of things before I get into my thoughts on this top 10 here. When I look at anything ranked, whether it's specifically college football, but whether you're talking top 25 teams, whether you're ranking players, whether you're ranking coaches, whatever the case, I sort of view things, lists like this as being or not the whole list, but one of 3 categories, right? I either agree. Let's take Kirby Smart at number 1. It's hard to argue that. There's been a debate the last few years, Kirby versus Saban. Saban has retired. It's pretty clear Kirby's the best coach of college football, at least right now. And as you can see from this ranking that they did, all 10 agreed. I'm not going to read the whole article to you. You can look it up if you're curious, but you got 10. There was 10 writers, and the way it worked is you got 10 points for a first place vote. Georgia received 100 points. That means every single writer voted Kirby number 1. There's really not any debate there, but you can debate it, I guess, if you can debate it with your mom if you need to. But anyway, so that would be something I just agree with, right? Dabo Swinney at 4. I don't necessarily agree with that, but I don't have a problem with that. Does that make sense? I can see the arguments of why someone would consider Dabo Swinney to be the 4th best coach, okay? I don't necessarily 100% agree that he is 4th. Maybe he's 3rd, maybe he's 5th, maybe you feel the same way, whatever. But I don't have a problem. I don't think Dabo Swinney at 4 is way off, right? So I don't look at that and go, that's ridiculous. I don't have to agree with it, but I don't necessarily have a problem. I don't necessarily have a problem with it. Ryan Day behind Lance Leopold. Look, I like Lance Leopold. He's a good coach. And what he's done at Kansas has been great for, Kansas standards or whatever. But is he really a better coach than Ryan Day? Now, this gets into sort of the coaching versus recruiting, right? Obviously, Ohio State's got better players than Kansas. No one would argue that, right? I have long argued that the number 1 job of a college football head coach is to recruit. Now, I understand that there are some built-in advantages at Ohio State that might not exist at a place like Kansas when it comes to recruiting. But I don't think Lance Leopold should be propped up because of that, and I don't think Ryan Day should be knocked down because of that. Recruiting is the primary job of a college football coach. You cannot win without talent. You just can't. We get a few good stories every year. Tulane will make a New Year's Six Bowl and beat a Southern Cal team that didn't have any interest in being there and stuff like that. But talent wins games. And the number one job of a college football coach in today's college football especially is talent acquisition. I don't separate, because people used to make this knock about Kirby all the time. He's not a good coach. He's just a good recruiter. What's the difference? Well, I mean, there's not really a difference. You have to be a good recruiter to be an elite college football coach. There's not anybody I would consider to be an elite college football coach that's not a good recruiter. Nobody. If they're not a good recruiter, they're not making a list of my list of elite college football coaches. So and look, I've had a lot of fun knocking Ryan Day over the years in Ohio State. Okay. They lose to Michigan every year. It's hilarious. They lose to Georgia in the playoffs. It's hilarious. They lose to Missouri in a New Year's Six Bowl. It's hilarious. They can't beat an SEC team to save their life. It's hilarious. I don't know why Ryan Day is all the way down here at 10. The guy averages 11 wins a year. And you can say, well, he inherited a loaded roster. Okay. He didn't inherit a loaded roster and then go 6-6. I mean, he inherited a roster that the only way not to take a step backwards was to win multiple national titles. Okay, so he hasn't done that. He's had a really good team every single year he's been there, period. And again, if you've been here for a while, you know, I love poking fun at the Ohio State man, okay? I get it. They lost to Michigan 3 years in a row. You had to watch Michigan win a national title. They haven't won the Big Ten. Can't win a playoff game, all this stuff under Ryan Day. I get it. But is Lane Kiffin a better coach than Ryan Day? Lane Kiffin last year, okay? Ole Miss last year, that's every year for Ryan Day. Every year. Lane Kiffin's done it once. Once. Lane Kiffin didn't win his division. He didn't win his conference. Ryan Day has done those things. Lane Kiffin didn't make the playoffs. Ryan Day has done that twice, I believe. Is Lane Kiffin really a better coach than Ryan Day? I've had to eat some humble pie on Lane Kiffin. I was very low on Lane Kiffin. I thought he was one of the most overrated and overhyped coaches in the country. Even I've had to admit he exceeded my expectations this last season. Getting Ole Miss to 11 wins is remarkable. He had a great year. And he has, in my opinion, what Lane Kiffin has done via the transfer portal, that's the roadmap, I think, to what a mid-level school, and that's what Ole Miss is. They're not a traditional powerhouse. They're not a blue blood. They don't got a bunch of national titles. They don't ever win their, but they're also not Vandy. They're a mid-tier program. To me, what Lane Kiffin has done through the portal at Ole Miss is exactly what programs like that should do. Not what Colorado's doing, which is pretend high school recruiting doesn't exist and just go get 45 mercenaries a year out of the portal that can't play together as a team and aren't very good. Also, don't do what Dabo does, which is just ignore the transfer portal and pretend it doesn't exist. Lane Kiffin recruits to the best of his ability and to the best of Ole Miss's ability as an institution. And then he goes out and he absolutely hammers the portal. So I have bumped Lane Kiffin up on my coaching rankings list over the last year. In no world should he be ahead of Ryan Day. I don't understand. I can't think of one single thing that anybody can point to about Lane Kiffin as proof or evidence that he's better than Ryan Day. Again, Ole Miss had a great year last year under Lane Kiffin. They won 10 games in the regular season. When was the last time Ryan Day won 10 games in the regular season? He wins 11 or 12 every year. So Ryan Day is better there. Did Lane Kiffin win his division? No. Ryan Day has done that. Did Lane Kiffin win the SEC? No. Ryan Day has done that. Did he make the playoffs? No. Ryan Day has done all these things. Again, what Ole Miss did the season that Ole Miss had last year, which is considered maybe the best season in Ole Miss history, is an average season at Ohio State. I don't understand. So like that's an example of something I kind of have a problem with. And again, I'm no Ryan Day fanboy. Okay, I have poked so much fun at Ryan Day. You can't even. I mean, it's ridiculous. I don't know how you have him behind Lane Kiffin and Lance Leopold. Steve Sarkisian. Okay, again. With the Steve Sarkisian one, maybe this is one that I disagree with, but don't have a problem with as it relates to Ryan Day. Steve Sarkisian did one time last year what Ryan Day has done multiple times. So I don't necessarily have a problem. It seems to me like I can't tell the difference between Sarkisian and Ryan Day. Can anyone else? What's the difference between Steve Sarkisian and Ryan Day? I don't see a difference. I don't see how they're 4 spots. I don't see how Ryan Day is 4 spots worse. To me, I would move Ryan Day up to 8 and then bump Lane Kiffin and Lance Leopold down 1 maybe. Kyle Whittingham at 3. Again, this is one that I probably don't agree with, but don't have a problem with. People who voted Kyle Whittingham this way, and again, if you want to go back and read the article, you can. It's on ESPN, and some of the writers explain why they have certain teams ranked where they do. I'm sure anyone that ranked Kyle Whittingham this high took into account the fact that they don't recruit or can't recruit or whatever. Again, to me, I don't separate those two things when it comes to evaluating head coaches. Acquiring talent is a skill that a head coach and really every coach on the staff needs to have. So am I impressed that Kyle Whittingham is able to average 10 wins a year for 15 years while he recruits 3 stars and a couple of 4 stars and never finishes in the top 10 in recruiting? Yeah, that's impressive. Do I give him extra credit as a head coach for that? No, because let me ask you this. If you think if Kirby Smart took the job as Utah head coach tomorrow, you think Utah's recruiting would improve or get worse? It would improve. Would they finish number 1 or number 2 or number 3 like he tends to do at Georgia? I don't know. Probably not. Maybe not. I don't know. But would it improve? So I don't think Kyle Whittingham is some elite level recruiter. I just don't. And again, in my mind, that knocks a coach down. Now, I would have Whittingham in my top 10 without question. So I don't have a problem with Whittingham at 3. I just sort of disagree. Dabo Swinney is another interesting one at 4. Now, with Dabo, he's got 2 national titles. Okay, so on one hand, you go, well, that's hard to do. You know, if somebody's got 2 national titles, you got to have them pretty high on this list. Okay, well, what if they have 1 national title? How high do you have to? And how far back does that national title continue to prop a coach up? Mack Brown and Jimbo Fisher are great examples of this, right? Mack Brown and Jimbo Fisher. Now, Jimbo's not currently coaching. Mack Brown is still coaching at North Carolina. But if you go back to last year, you Jimbo at Texas A&M, Mack Brown at North Carolina. Did anybody have them in their top 10? Did anybody have them in their top 20? Well, they had a national title. So I think if you're going to rank Dabo Swinney at 4, considering the downward trajectory Clemson has been on over the last 4 seasons, going back to 2020, and it is a downward trajectory. You lose 2 games, 3 games, 3 games, 4 games. That's a clear downward trend, combined with the fact that he's refused to evolve as college football is constantly changing around him, and he's doing the standing on one leg with his head in the sand, the whole ostrich routine, pretending there's no such thing as a portal. I think you have to take that into account. So if, but back to the Jimbo and the Mack Brown thing. So if we're not going to give them any credit at all for winning national titles, Mack Brown, 2005, Jimbo Fisher, 2013. Okay, Dabo won one in 16 and 18. 16 was 8 years ago. 18 was 6 years ago. How long do you live off of that? I'm asking. I don't know. Again, I would have Dabo in my top 10 because, even though they lost 4 games last year, there's, that was a down year, even to the years before where he was losing multiple games. Maybe they get it turned around this year. I don't know. But I would probably have Dabo in my top 10. I don't know that I would have him in my top 5 right now. And I think if you do, then you are giving him a lot of credit for those 2 national titles, which, again, I don't have a problem with. I might disagree with it, but I don't have a problem with somebody having Dabo in their top 5. But again, I would ask the question, how much credit were you giving Jimbo for winning a national title? How much credit are you giving Mack Brown for winning a national title? So if your only defense for having Dabo in the top 4 is that he's won 2 national titles, I think you need to come with something other than that. Mike Norvell at 5. Is that high? Undefeated last year, probably should have made the playoffs. I don't want to get into that debate here. But that's really his only great year. I think did they lose 4 games the year before that? So I think last year was clearly a pop year for Florida State. I think this is a big year for Mike Norvell and Florida State to see if they can keep that momentum going. Dan Lanning at 6. This one is controversial to me. Now, he's won a lot of games, but that's it. He hasn't even played for a Pac-12 title, I don't believe. 2 years ago, we had, he did play this last year, I'm sorry, and lost to Washington for the second time. 2 years ago, he didn't make it in his first year as head coach at Oregon. But he's won a lot of games. He recruits really well. This is a situation where I think there's some foreshadowing here with having Dan Lanning at 6. And I'm a Dan Lanning fan. I like Dan Lanning. He was at Georgia for several years under Kirby Smart, and he did a hell of a job. And I wish him nothing but the best out of Oregon. I think the feeling about Dan Lanning is that he is going to be a really good head coach. And I think that's reflected in this ranking. This having Dan Lanning at 6, to me, feels more like a projection of a couple of years down the road than a snapshot of reality right now. How can you have Dan Lanning ahead of Steve Sarkisian? I don't understand that at all. Can anybody explain that? How can you have Dan Lanning ahead of Ryan Day? Dan Lanning ahead of Ryan Day? Look, Ryan Day's the worst one on here, and I could almost do a video just about that. Actually, that's not the worst one on here. As you can see from the title of the video, other teams are mentioned here, and we're going to get to that now. They have a others receiving votes list here. All right. So if you're wondering, okay, if this is the top 10 coaches, according to these 10 college football writers, who were sort of the ones on the bubble, right? The ones that got left out. If you want to relate it to the AP poll, the sort of the others receiving votes. I'm glad you asked. Get your Louis ready, because this is going to blow your fucking mind. I'm just telling you right now. Also receiving votes, and thank God they tell us how many votes so we know what order these people would have been in. Brian Kelly would have came in at 11, the LSU head coach in his second year. Down year last year, Heisman Trophy winning quarterback, no defense at all. Lincoln Riley at USC, West Coast LSU, at least last year, all offense, no defense. We know the story with Lincoln Riley. Kirk Ferentz at Iowa, an interesting one. Been a coach for 25 years, under a lot of heat the last couple of years for hiring his son as offensive coordinator, while his offense slowly spiraled down a drain. He's now moved on from that, and we'll see. But I do feel like Kirk Ferentz is in the last couple of years here there at Iowa. Iowa's an odd place. I'm 45 years old. Iowa has had 2 coaches in my lifetime. They don't fire coaches. You get a job at Iowa, you're there for life. So Luke Fickell after that, going into his second year at Wisconsin. Eli Drinkwitz at Missouri. Now, we're going to run into some issues here. Eli Drinkwitz at Missouri. Mac Brown at North Carolina. So they're not giving Mac Brown any credit for winning a national title, right? But they're propping Dabo up a little because of it. Mike Gundy at Oklahoma State. Jonathan Smith at Michigan State. And you see where I'm headed here. Deion Sanders. Deion fucking Sanders. Which I've already told you, he's not even a coach. He's a team mom with a gold whistle. How in the hell did he end up on this list? How? He has been, forget Power 5, he's been a Division I, a D1, an FBS coach for 1 year. And he won 4 games. What is he doing on this list? Well, he inherited a team that only won 1 game. Okay, where's the Northwestern coach? Northwestern only won 1 game in 2022. They bring in a new coach. How many games they win last year? 7, 8, 9, whatever. I forget, whatever it was. So, what? I don't know how anybody even wrote. First of all, the entire point of this project that they did here was to list the top 10. That means somebody put Deion in the top 10. Look, Deion Sanders got 2 votes. That means either 2 people voted Deion as the number 10 coach in the country, or 1 person voted him as the 9th best team in the country, because that's how the voting worked. You got 10 points for a first place vote, 1 point for a 10th place vote. Either 2 brain dead, mouth breathing, Velcro shoe wearing nincompoops voted for Prime Deion as the 10th best coach in the country, or 1 idiot voted him as the 9th best. How? How? That if I don't, the biggest Deion fan on the planet can't think that Deion is a top 10 coach in the country. They can't think. I'm stuttering. I'm so damn mad. Kurtz and Yeti at Indiana, Chris Kleiman at Kansas State. How is Deion Sanders ahead of Chris Kleiman? Okay, Kansas State isn't some beacon of football supremacy. It's Kansas friggin' State. And they might win the Big 12 this year. John Summerall at Tulane. I'm going to try to move on from the Deion thing because between the Deion thing and the Ryan Day thing, I could probably done this video and only talked about Ryan Day, or I could have done this video and only talked about Deion. Let's just move on. But whose name is not on this list? Hey, coffee again. Where's my buddy Josh Heupel at? Where's Fat Boy at? Where is John Heupel on this list of top 10 coaches? I don't see him on here, which is odd, because Tennessee fans tell me he's amazing. Not according to the people who do this for a living. He's not even better than Eli Drinkwitz. Now, to be fair, this is completely ridiculous. I'm not suggesting that Josh Heupel should be on this list. I'm telling you, if Eli Drinkwitz is on it, he shouldn't be ahead of Josh Heupel, John Hopeful. Eli Drinkwitz, one good year, and yeah, it was really good. 10-2 in the regular season, a win over Ohio State in a New Year's Six game to finish 11-2 was a really good season. One good season. Every other year at Ole Miss, 500. 5-7, 6-6, 7-6. Every year. One good year, okay? He did last year what Josh Heupel did the year before. Josh Heupel in 2022, won 10 or 11 games, whatever it was, made a New Year's Six game and won, beat Clemson. Okay. Nick, last year, what were they, 8-4? 8-4 would have been Eli Drinkwitz's best season ever until last year. So again, I don't understand. How someone, I don't know. You can't get inside the mind of some of these people. And again, I'm not knocking Eli Drinkwitz. I like Eli Drinkwitz. I've got Missouri ranked in my top 10 early, way too early, top 25 for next year or whatever. So I'm not here to knock Missouri or Eli Drinkwitz. I just don't understand some of the reasoning that goes into this. How do you put Eli Drinkwitz ahead of John Hopeful on any college coach ranking list? How do you have Chris Kleiman? He should be higher. He's better than almost everybody on this others receiving votes list. I don't get it. I don't know. I don't get it. I don't get it. Anyway, here's another random, pointless top 10 coaching list. Let me know down below what you think. Have a good morning.